Joe Buck kind enough to call in the very next day, once again here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Joseph?
They're saying that call is going to go down in history as one of the most recent.
Yeah. Well, it's the latest, you know?
It's definitely the latest. Of all the baseball calls that are out there right now, it's the latest.
Well, you know what, Joe? And that's what makes it special to me. If I had a choice to take a selfie with somebody last night named Joe, forget Torrey, forget West, it would have been Buck. It would have been Buck. You know that.
Well, I know. And we would have made Smoltz take it in the booth.
Well, no, selfie would. Oh, by the way, that's not. That wasn't a selfie.
But there really wasn't a selfie last night because they had Molina take the picture, so that doesn't really qualify as a selfie.
Would it have been odd if I did just show up out of the blue in the booth of the All-Star game last night and demand Yadier Molina still take our picture of us in the booth? Would that have been odd?
No,
okay.
Because you should see what goes on in our booth. It's like a petting zoo. There are people that come in. There are people, advertisers, friends, family.
But there's not there's not actual livestock though, Joe. Right? I mean, seriously, there's livestock in the booth.
There has been yes. It was our tribute to Joe Madden.
And I loved the interview with Bryce Harper during the game. That was fun. That would never happen during a regular season game, right, Joe? Would that ever happen?
No, I don't think so. And that's kind of the beauty of where the game has gone now. With back to this time, it doesn't count, I guess. But you can take more of an exhibition type feel to it. I think you could do it in a spring training game, but I don't believe the Players Association or baseball, for that matter, would ever okay that. But it was fun and it was cool, and both George Springer, one half inning, and then Bryce Harper, the other half inning. I thought they were terrific. And Bryce in particular, I mean, what you don't know is that he was supposed to go the half inning before George Springer, but his microphone wasn't working. So I'm talking to him while he's in the outfield, trying to get him during the commercial break to jangle his microphone transmitter around. I said, do you have any batteries on you? Put them in there if you do. But he was nice enough to leave the thing on. And then he said, I'll just leave it on. I don't care. And so then he went back out there for the next half inning. And I said, I'll just keep you for a minute. You've been more than kind enough doing all this stuff. And he said, I'm bored out here. I'll talk to you the whole half inning. So
I love that.
That's the beauty of Bryce Harper, who I think gets a bad rap and is actually a really good guy and obviously crazy talented.
Yeah. So let's get more into that, because if he is the face of baseball, and I think he is. I did get caught in the whole Judge hysteria by saying Judge was the face of baseball yesterday, but that might have been the John Sterling in me coming out, Joe. With Harper,
there's medication for that.
Is there really? I have to consult my doctor first, probably. But if Harper is in fact the face of baseball, the fact that he gets a bad rap or is not known to be as good as he is, how does that happen, Joe? Right?
Well, I think he came in, the perception was cocky, and he was, doing things maybe before it was time for him to do it as a rookie. And I think we all get caught up in the unwritten rules that seem to be more written than ever. And I think he rubbed people the wrong way. But it's just typical of, you think you know somebody from a distance, then you get to be around them. I'm probably guilty of it with Bryce, and he may be guilty of it with me. I just think that's kind of the human condition these days, not to get philosophical, but you see somebody from a distance, you think you have them pegged, you think you know who they are, and then you meet him and you go, whoa, I was way off. This guy's a great guy. And I'm telling you, I wouldn't even go into any of this if he wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
He's a really good person.
Well, when he said that he felt like a commentator for a network, I loved his choice of network that he mentioned during the interview last night.
Well, yeah, what was it, an NFL Network?
Yeah, that would be it, Joe. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. I have that on my cable system, my satellite dish.
So is he a Cowboy fan? Because of all the players for him to pull out, you mentioned Dak Prescott. He's from Vegas.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess so. I wasn't aware of that. And then when he brought up Dak kind of out of the blue, it took me a minute. Now, I don't know a lot of people. Certainly, I don't know a lot of people named Dak. So you would think that would immediately trigger a response from me. But the response in my head was, wait a minute, Dak. Who's Dak Prescott? And then we were going into a football conversation. But for a second there, that tested every ounce of my intelligence.
Well, hey, look, I mean, you're locked into an All-Star game. I mean, and the last thing you're going to be, the figurative curveball to come your way would be to be asked a football question by the right fielder that you're interviewing in the middle of the actual game.
That's fair.
You know?
Yeah, that's fair.
So, and when it all comes down to it, though, do you think this game needs fixing? Does this game need to be tweaked in the same way that they tweaked the home run derby with that shot clock that was terrific? So what do you think about the All-Star game?
I mean, it just depends. I think they could send some trial balloons in the All-Star game like we did with the coverage, talking to guys in the on-deck circle, A-Rod walking out there, talking to outfielders during the game, talking to managers live, not taped in between innings. I think you can do some of that stuff. If you wanted to maybe tweak how they would do extra innings if you got there and do the runners-on deal and one out and see if you can get the guy over, whatever they want to try, or try the pitch clock. I think there's now opportunity now that, the home field advantage in the World Series doesn't ride on the winning league. That said, I kind of feel like there was something missing after 14 years of this time it counts. And I felt like it was a little flat without that. But again, it allowed us to do stuff we wouldn't typically do. So there's give and take in everything, and maybe that's cooler to the fan and has more opportunity to try stuff if you're Major League Baseball with regard to speeding up the game in an exhibition-type setting instead of something that determines who starts the World Series.
What do you think of Harper's suggestion that the top vote-getters in each league take the entire pool of players that have been voted in and choose sides and just do away with American versus national? What do you think of that? Because that way you could.
That doesn't hit me right.
Well, no. But I know that completely takes down the concept of what the All-Star game has always been. But you could get Kershaw versus Posey. You could get Kimbrel versus Judge. And I know we're seeing that even this weekend. But when it comes down to an All-Star game moment, 6th, 7th, 8th innings, maybe that's the sort of jolt that the game might need.
Well, I would rather go the complete opposite way and have the best players from each league. Maybe that means a team doesn't get represented, and these guys play pretty much a full game. And if you don't get in, then be better next year and get in the game. If you do, you're playing the ball game like a normal ball game. And maybe you need another day off on either side of the All-Star break to allow the best pitchers to be ready to pitch in that game. But I would rather see it go the other way. I don't know about choosing sides, and it just feels NHL, NBA to me. I think the Major League Baseball All-Star game is still by far the best of the 4 major sports All-Star games, and I wouldn't go that far. I don't think it needs that.
Well, it's the one that actually resembles an actual regular season, if not postseason game, based on any of the All-Star games. It's the only one that resembles it.
And I think that's good. I think that's a good thing. That differentiates it from the other leagues that are trying to drum up interest. I don't see doing away with American versus national and scrapping something that's been going on since 1933. I'm the last person that would consider myself an obstructionist or some sort of traditionalist in baseball, but I don't like that idea.
Are you turning into Costas on me during this conversation?
I think
Joe?
I am.
Just happen?
I think I am.
Did that just happen? Oh my
I
gosh!
think it did. I don't know. All of a sudden, I feel different.
You came in Joe Buck and you're leaving Bob Costas all of a sudden. Wow. That transformation right before our very eyes.
Yes, very frightening.
Here on the Rich Eisen Show. Undeniable with Joe Buck returns for Season 3 on the 18th of October. A-Rod is your first guest. Is that, as they say, already in the can? Did you do that interview already, Joe?
Oh, yeah. We've got a whole season done.
Okay.
Which includes Bobby Knight and Jeff Gordon and David Robinson, the Admiral, and right on down the line. So, A-Rod was great. Sometimes A-Rod comes off as really rehearsed, and he was at times, because I think he's really protective about what he says, certainly with regard to his PED use and the history of all that. But, man, he was great. and I've really gotten to like him a lot. And another guy who I think you see from a distance, you have some opinion as to what kind of a person they are, and then you get to know them, and you realize you were completely wrong. And so I've really enjoyed my time around him. He's a wonderful guy.
Was J-Lo off to the side on the set? Did she set crash
What's
that day? Was J-Lo off to the side, off set?
No,
Did she set crash that day?
but I did. I think I made the joke that on our Fox pregame, we've got a guy that's dating J-Lo, and his name's not Pete Rose because Pete was uninterested would not return her calls. So she settled for Alex.
Okay. And so with the whole situation, Joe, for you and Undeniable and what you do with them and occasionally pull on the heartstrings, who'd you get to cry? Who cried this season?
Alex cried a little bit.
Oh,
if we
come
want
on.
to stay with Alex.
Sure.
Bobby Knight, maybe a little.
What?
But, yeah, he was emotional. He was. Now, I don't know what makes the final cut. So when it gets on air, I'm looking at it for the first time myself.
Joe,
and I didn't realize that Alex's episode was the first one up, and I
just
think
break
it's
news?
worthy of that.
Did I just break Undeniable news to you?
You did.
Huh.
You did. And by the way, I'm calling it Undeniable with Joe Buck / Bob Costas from here.
Yes, you
going
can do
forward.
season 4, by the way.
Yeah.
So those things in the corners of Bob Knight's eyes can emit some form of salty liquid. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. No, I'm here to tell you, he's got a heart. He was great. I mean, man, he went for 3 hours.
Well, those are two
I
Indiana
talked to his
guys
son.
talking. Those are two Indiana guys talking right there.
Exactly. I talked to his son Pat, and he had just gotten a pacemaker not long before that, and it really kind of perked him up to the point where he wouldn't stop talking. It was fantastic. So
Damn.
that one is really interesting because he has some very strong opinions about John Wooden, and he certainly doesn't hold back, which he did not disappoint in that area.
Well, look, if somehow, some way, Bob Knight getting emotional and crying does not make the final edit of season 4 of Undeniable, I will storm the edit bay with a pitchfork and a torch on your behalf, Joe. That's going to make it, I'm sure.
Okay, good. And then we'll break the footage on your show.
Okay, Joe, you're the best. Thanks for calling.
Don't be scared to put my book, Lucky Bastard, up next to the Bryan Cranston book, by the way.
Do we have an autographed copy of Lucky Bastard, bro?
We're gonna have to
I'll send
look.
you 10 of them.
I don't think
I've
so.
got 30 of them under my bed.
Right now, it's a for your edification. It is a Joey Logano signed Pennzoil container, a Bryan Cranston autographed book, a Gronk autographed book, and the latest cover of Nantucket magazine of Bill Belichick and his boo, as they might say in certain parts.
Oh,
yeah,
fantastic.
That's currently the way it's.
Well, I'm going to think about that while I go through security here at Miami International Airport and feel like Leonardo DiCaprio and Catch Me If You Can.
Joe, you take care. Safe flight.
I just walked through the terminal with 15 flight attendants.
My gosh.
Wow.
Catch him if you can, everybody.
Have a great flight.
Take care, Joe.
Yeah. Okay. See you guys.
You got it. That's Joe Buck.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on radio stations across the country and audience.
If you like that video, be sure to download our app. Don't have any memory on your phone? Let's start to delete some of those slow-mo videos you have. And you know which ones I'm talking about.